So yeah. So now, I think we're going to move on to the next thing, and these are just something we're going to call thought bubbles.
Thought bubbles. Oh.
Are we actually going to have thought bubbles coming
I
out?
think Rashad has thought bubbles in the works. Yes, he does. Basically, thought bubbles are we each have picked something that we want to discuss, and we will pick it apart like we always do, with humor, and sometimes some
Bitchiness.
venom. Yeah, some venom, but it's all in good. Oh, Mark, we don't point fingers here.
No, it's okay. I know. I am the grouch. I'm the token Dorothy of the group. I bitch about everything.
The token toy.
But you know what? Y'all love my sarcasm and my shit.
We do. So, in that vein, who would like to kick us off?
I'll go first since I'm at the top of the list.
Do it.
So, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. I actually became more of a Tolkien fan during the pandemic too. So I was really excited whenever this was coming out. I had very high hopes for it. I knew it wasn't going to live up to like the original trilogy because let's face it, nothing's going to live up to that in Lord of the Rings. But I had some disappointments with this. I mean, I would give it a solid like 7.8 out of 10 maybe, only because it was a lot of the same characters that were in Lord of the Rings. You got Galadriel, Elrond. You got to see them kind of in a younger state growing up. But there was just like the dialogue, some of the decisions that they made. I was like, they had all this like to work with, and they didn't have rights to the Silmarillion, so I'll give them credit for that. But they had a good story already written, and they made decisions that were just terrible. Like they tried to throw in this like faux love story a couple times. They overused slow motion at the dumbest parts. I don't know why they had to do a slow motion of Galadriel running on the beaches of Numenor on a horse, acting like it was the first time she had ever done it.
Yeah.
She's clearly a trained horse rider because she's kicking people's ass in a war like the next movie, or the next episode. The scenes that were dark were like way too dark, which is kind of a complaint across all movie or TV shows at this point for me. But like there was some good scenery. I love the Palantir scene of Numenor, with the tidal wave kind of destroying the island from the point of view of somebody on the island, which was totally beautiful, and I got goosebumps watching it. The disruption of Mount Doom, I think that was a good scene. They had their ups and downs. Overall, it was a little bit of a disappointment, but I'm hoping that it can still go through to season 2 and beyond. I hope they make up for it.
Yeah.
I loved it, but I didn't read the books. I've only seen the movies.
There hasn't been a whole lot written on the second age, which is where this takes place. There's a lot in the first age and a lot on the third age.
I watched it. I enjoyed it. I will say,
I did.
so
I
you didn't
enjoyed it.
mention the Nerds of the Ring.
I would highly recommend
So,
Nerds of the Ring. Yes,
because that's the way we watched it. Is it was almost done
On
And
YouTube.
and so we would watch an episode on Amazon, and we would go and watch the recap on YouTube. Nerd of the Rings would do a recap, and that was a really interesting way to watch it because I know some about Tolkien, but not a whole lot, and it was really interesting the things that he broke down on. The different choices that they probably made because they didn't have rights to certain things. He would be like, okay, this was similar to this because it's in the Silmarillion, but they don't have the rights, so they kind of probably made this choice, and different things like that. And so that was a good way to watch it, was to do an episode and then watch the recap.
Yeah, I would recommend anybody that is a somewhat Tolkien fan. Nerd of the Rings has a bunch of really good, 10 to 15 minute, he'll just tell you the story of these different Tolkien stories throughout the three ages and even before the Middle Earth is even created.
Without giving anything away, what's one thing you would have changed that you think would have made it?
So I'm trying not to give too much away, but they spent literally the last 10 minutes actually talking about the Rings of Power, which is what the whole fucking show was about. They spent the entire show talking about all this other stuff, and it's the last episode they're like, crap, we have to cram all this into one episode, And I mean, it's like it was an afterthought.
So
I chalk
one
that up
thing-
to
don't you
setting
think
up
that,
for next
like-
season, though.
I mean, yes. I
But
think
that's fine. But like, okay, like the whole point of like the Rings of Power was that Sauron like helped create all these Rings of Power, and then when he leaves, they create these Elven rings that are more powerful. That he can't do it.
we
and-
never actually like met Sauron. Like even in any of the other movies, we've seen his shadow, we've seen his pupil of the eye kind of thing. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about this Rings of Power is that we actually got to see what Sauron looks like in the morning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I
Here,
mean,
well, I was going to say.
Well,
yeah.
but does he?
So
Or
the
is
one
that
thing, no, you know who he is by the end of this. Yeah.
No, I mean, what I mean is, I know, I've seen it. But I'm
Oh,
saying,
you're thinking
is that what he really
is
looks
that
like?
what he
Yeah.
really looks like, or is
Oh
that,
no,
or
this is his
like
fair
an illusion?
form. He has a
Right,
fair
that's
form.
what
yeah.
I mean.
Right, yeah. One thing, but that's one thing that I would change is I got tired of the misdirects about Sauron. You know, because it was like, oh, could this guy be Sauron? Oh, could this one be? Oh,
Yeah.
you know. And then also, you know, it's like who the wizard is, like who the old you know, the
Yeah,
you know.
the star.
And that they haven't really like revealed that yet, but they've leaned heavily into things.
no, they,
But
They-
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna call back to yeah. I know I didn't want to like spoil too much. Yeah, but to call back to Lost. One thing that you know is interesting to me is I read an article about Lost years and years ago because I was a huge Lost fan. And the reason that Lost worked versus all the clones that came after is when audiences watch, they don't mind knowing more than the characters do. You know? And so the thing about Lost is there would be secrets, but then you would get the flashback and
Yeah.
get the reveal, and then you would see what was happening on the island, and you'd be like, "Oh, wow, that's interesting." And so they hid things from you, but then they were revealed. But then other ones, you know, it's like they wanted to play like, "Oh, you know, oh, hey, did you hear about? Oh, no, we're not going to talk about that. Oh, did you, you know? Oh, that person over there. Oh, no, never mind. Don't look at them. You know." And so it's frustrating because it's like it's not that you know you're in on a secret. It's you're being like you know secrets are being withheld and for too long. You know, and so that's one of the thing about the Sauron thing. I think it would have been more interesting had we known the whole time.
Yeah.
Had we been somehow we had gotten some sort of like audience only reveal, and then throughout throughout season one we could see him working. You know,
That's the whole point. So, like,
so-
that was one of the decisions that I think they missed because they had an option of we're going to play this deception game. We're going to not let you know who this guy is,
right?
or we can have him be Anatar, his fair form, whatever,
Yeah.
and be like deceiving the people around him
Yeah.
for this entire season and building up to the ring. And I
But there was
think-
a thing. There was one thing that he said at one point, and I figured it out the next episode that he was going to be who he was. And I'll tell you later because I don't want to spoil. Like I don't know.
Who hasn't seen it that wants to see it?
People potentially out
Oh,
there.
well, wait, don't we have a spoiler
I think
alert
that
warning?
I think that one of the cool things about the misdirect was that those misdirects actually told you about the other quote unquote I hate using this word, but it's the other races in
Yeah.
in that universe.
Yeah.
Like when you had to focus in on the major misdirect for Sauron, you had to learn about how elves and orcs are similar, where they
Right.
come from the same place, and that they're actually manipulated to hell and back,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And so you actually got sympathetic with that. So you it's kind of like when, okay, I think a really good example. This may actually be even worse, but just firewall with me on this one, okay? Frank Miller had this really cool way of doing a hierarchy of like goon, strongman, villain, and all that in all of his Sin City stories. He did it in Batman and Daredevil, but in Sin City it's perfect because Marv was always the equalizer. Okay, Marv was always the equal sign. So if you had somebody that could beat Marv, and Marv beat that person, you knew who the hierarchy was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like getting dwarfed.
Yeah.
I said
So,
that earlier. Yeah.
I think that
I love that
like
term.
what,
It's like, yeah.
by doing the misdirect, everyone knows how evil Sauron is. So everyone needs to appreciate what the evil actually is, and that separates it from all the other movies associated with different IP,
Mhm.
because Amazon has to do its own thing. They have to recreate the wheel when it comes to what evil actually looks like in Middle Earth. Now.
Right.
They can't just rely on somebody else's work. Okay, so I think that was like part of the misdirect, and I hear what you're saying, because that did get annoying, but we already know who Sauron is, and we already know, evil this and evil that. But learning what it was like to be an elf, and then learning what it was like to be an orc that was an elf, you needed to know that before you watch this spooky guy out of, BFE, formerly known as, Mordor,
Right.
to, I don't know. It's just this guy.
You think
out
it
of
helped
left
the
field
character
totally,
development.
yeah, exactly. And it just helped move things along for me in terms of like theme, that kind of thing.
Am I the only one who was kind of sad that because I like that the other character?
Yeah.
Because I was like, damn.
You liked? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I kind of
I mean,
I was
okay.
I was
It's like,
leaning towards him pretty early on in the series.
Oh, were you? Yeah,
we were talking about it one day.
I
Yeah,
knew
but I was-
he was one of the contenders, and then, like I said, I figured it out like a couple of
I was
episodes.
actually upset because I was like,
yeah, I was like,
dubious
oh,
motherfucker.
Yeah.
So there is a fan theory about that character might actually be alive somewhere else because we don't see him for some parts, but I don't think it's true. I think it's just wishful thinking.
But that would be some Sauron shit to do too,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would.
just like steal somebody's body, like
Yeah, I
see
mean,
him on
that's
the
like-
battlefield,
that's
like,
like-
hey, I'm
that's
gonna
like-
look like you.
That's like some real Stefano shit from
General Hospital.
Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I get points for knowing who Stefano was? I mean, yeah, okay. So, I guess not.